Foxborough, lock in, because there are real signals coming out of New England right now, and I'm telling you, this is the kind of stretch where small moves can reveal a much bigger plan. The Patriots are working on depth, protection, identity, future pieces, and defensive pressure all at once. And when that starts happening, this is not just random off-season noise. This is roster building with a purpose. So before we even get rolling, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your take in the comments, because today we've got offensive line help, a possible pass rush swing, a massive Christian Gonzalez update, and a draft name Patriots fans absolutely need to keep on their radar. Let's start with James Hudson, because I already know some people are going to shrug and say, that's just a depth signing. No, not in New England, not with this roster, not with where this team is right now. Depth on the offensive line is never just depth. It is insurance, it is protection, it is survival. Hudson comes in as a veteran tackle with real experience on both sides, and that matters in a huge way because the Patriots came into this week without either of last season's backup tackles on the roster. Vidarian Lowe is gone. Thayer Munford is still out there. That is not a small issue. That is a flashing warning light, and the Patriots clearly saw it. Hudson has started games at both right tackle and left tackle, but the bigger part of the story is that he has a lot more experience on the right side. That makes this especially interesting when you look at Morgan Moses and where he is in his career. You cannot talk about building a tougher, more stable Patriots team and then ignore the need for real backup protection behind your starters. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Hudson crossed paths with Mike Vrabel in Cleveland in 2024. So this might not be some random pickup off the pile. This could be a player the staff already understands, already trusts, and already sees as a fit for the kind of culture they're trying to build. And let me say this too, this signing does not mean tackle is off the board in the draft. If anything, it feels like the opposite. This looks like a stabilizing move. Bring in a functional veteran, stop the bleeding, then stay aggressive if the right prospect falls your way. That is how smart teams build. So tell me this right now, do you actually feel better with Hudson in the room, or do the Patriots still need to hammer tackle early in the draft? Now let's shift to the bigger concern, and honestly, this one may matter even more right now: the pass rush. Because if there is still one glaring hole on this roster, one area where New England still does not feel dangerous enough, it is the edge. Yes, they added Draymond Jones. Fine. But outside of that, this team still feels light. It still feels unfinished. It still feels like a defense that needs more juice, more violence, more disruption. And that is why the Jonathan Greenard situation is so fascinating. Greenard has been one of the more attractive names out there for teams that need help getting after the quarterback. The idea was that Minnesota could be open to moving him for the right price, and naturally the Patriots immediately felt like a logical fit. But here's the problem. There has been no real reporting tying New England to an actual push. And now? The clock may be ticking. A recent social media post from Greenard has people wondering if something is brewing again with the Vikings. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it is just a post. Maybe it is not. But if there is even a chance that Minnesota is moving toward an extension, then any possible trade window could slam shut fast. And this is exactly why the Patriots cannot sit back and wait for the draft to solve everything. Sure, they should absolutely invest in edge early. They probably will. But asking rookies alone to fix a pressure problem is risky business. You need veteran presence. You need proven snaps. You need someone who can help set the tone in the room while the young guys develop. Greenard may not be the fantasy blockbuster name some fans dreamed about, but he would still be a serious upgrade over what this team had in 2025. So here's my question. If Vrabel and the front office really believe this defense needs another real piece, why would they not at least make the call? Why would they not ask the price? That is not panic. That is diligence. That is what serious teams do when they know a roster still needs help. So I want the temperature of the fan base right now. If it were up to you, would you push for Greenard? Or would you hold on to the draft capital and trust the board? And then we get to what might be the biggest long-term story of the entire group: Christian Gonzalez. This to me is the kind of move that tells you whether a franchise actually knows who it is. Because when a team makes it clear that it wants to lock up a young star before the rookie deal runs out, that is not just contract talk. That is identity talk. That is core building. That is a front office saying, we know exactly who we want leading the next era of Patriots football. The report says the Patriots and Gonzalez had preliminary extension talks at the Combine. Nothing is done. Nothing is finalized. But the signal is loud. Elliott Wolf has already made it clear the team wants Gonzalez here for the long haul, and honestly, why wouldn't they? Since arriving in New England, he has looked like one of the best young corners in football. Not just a good player, not just a solid starter, a real difference maker. A player who changes the way your defense can line up, challenge receivers, and control matchups. That kind of talent does not just matter on Sundays. It shapes the whole direction of your defense. Now yes, the money is going to be massive. It could reset the market. It could make him the highest paid corner in the league. And some people are going to flinch at that. But let me flip the question around. What is the cost of not having a player like that anchoring your defense in his prime? That is the real conversation. Yes, the Patriots can use the fifth-year option for 2027. That is still on the table. But there is a difference between managing a contract and making a statement. Picking up an option says, "We'll deal with it later." A full extension says, "This guy is one of the faces of our future." And if New England gets this done sooner rather than later, that is bigger than a number on paper. That is a message to the locker room, to the league, and to the fan base. So let me ask you straight up, is Christian Gonzalez already untouchable in your eyes? Worth every penny of a blockbuster extension right now? And finally, let's talk about one of those under-the-radar draft names that could quietly become a real Patriots story. Lewis Bond out of Boston College. This is not a headline monster. This is not the splashiest name in the class. But these are exactly the kinds of names you need to pay attention to if you know how New England likes to build. Bill O'Brien flat out questioned why Bond didn't get a combine invite. The Patriots were there at BC's Pro Day. Mike Vrabel spent real time with him. Now, does that guarantee anything? Of course not. But it absolutely tells you this player is on the radar. Bond put up huge production at Boston College and carries a profile that makes a lot of sense when you think about what Patriots offenses have historically valued from their slot receivers. Route running, football IQ, feel for space, precision, discipline. He is projected more as a late-round guy, so nobody is saying he walks in as a savior. That is not the point. The point is value. The point is fit. The point is whether the staff sees someone who can grow inside the role they want, and that matters. Because smart rebuilds are not just about star power. They are about stacking the roster with the right kinds of players in the right kinds of spots. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you Lewis Bond is the next great Patriots slot weapon. That would be reckless. But I am absolutely telling you this is the type of player who can start as a quiet draft discussion and turn into a very real Foxborough storyline if the fit is there. So what do you think? Would you take a shot on Bond as a value pick? Or do the Patriots need to chase wide receiver help in a more immediate, more aggressive way? And when you step back and look at all of it together, that is the real takeaway here. The Patriots may not be making the loudest moves of the offseason, but they are leaving clues. Clues about how they want to rebuild. Clues about how they want to protect this team where they still know they need help, who they view as foundational, and which prospects fit the culture they are trying to create. That does not mean every problem is solved. It does not mean the roster is finished. But it does mean there is a direction here. And maybe, just maybe, Foxborough is more organized and more intentional than a lot of people want to admit. So hit that like button, subscribe, share this with another Patriots fan, and tell me in the comments which one of these moves matters most for the future of this team. Because one thing is crystal clear right now. The next chapter of this Patriots rebuild is already being written. And if they get the next few decisions right, this thing could start speeding up in a hurry.